tens of thousands of Americans gathered here in the nation's capital over the weekend for a rally intended to return the country to the mindset it had on the day after the September 11th attacks. A day when, according to the website of the 9/12 Project, quote, "We were not obsessed with red states, blue states, or political parties. We were united as Americans." Our fifth story in the countdown, that was the stated goal anyway. The reality was something different. On Saturday, an estimated 50 to 70,000 gathered in Washington, not to unite behind the president, as this nation did regardless of political affiliation in the wake of the 9/11 attacks, but to unite in apparent hatred of the current president, Barack Obama. On 9/12/2001, did the people of this nation compare George W. Bush to Hitler, Lenin, Stalin, and Fidel Castro? On 9/12/2001, did anyone not affiliated with Al-Qaeda threaten the president's life? Did they denigrate the ancestry and skin color of President Bush while calling him a liar? How about a blood-sucking alien? Or an illegal alien? Or the devil? On 9/12/2001, did a pro-life organization in its mass production of signs try to unite the country by using the death of a senator to bury any piece of legislation? Not only is it unthinkable to imagine similar signs in the wake of the 9/11 attacks, it is difficult to believe any politician affiliated with a major political party would condone such behavior. Not so the Republican Party of 2009. Georgia Congressman Tom Price and Phil Gingrey were in attendance, as was Tennessee Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn. South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint even addressed the crowd.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Waterloo. Will we sink into the pit of high taxes, suffocating debt, and socialism? My friends, I join you today not as a U.S. senator, but as a fellow freedom-loving American. I'm not here to speak to you, but to stand with you. And to join my voice with yours. It is time that the President and the Congress stop lecturing us and start listening to us. Too many Americans have fought and died for our freedom, for us to give it away with apathy and silence.
In a democracy, isn't that what elections are for? Senator DeMint seems to think more along the lines of a military coup.
This is a critical battle for the heart and soul of America and for freedom itself. Freedom fighters are outnumbered in Congress, but not across America. We are winning this fight, and if you continue to stand up and speak out, we will save freedom in America.
One man's saving freedom is another man's fomenting of hatred. Senator DeMint also claimed that the attendees were a cross-section of America. If by cross-section he meant white, whiter, and whitest. Speaking of which, a reminder of the Brain Trust who brought us Saturday's Intolerance Festival in the first place.
We weren't told how to behave that day after 9/11. We just knew it was right. It was the opposite of what we feel today. Let us find ourselves and our solutions together again with the 9 founding principles and the 12 eternal values. This is the 9/12 Project.
Are you ready to be that person that you were that day after 9/11 on 9/12? I told you for weeks, you're not alone. I'm turning into a frickin' televangelist.
Howard, the Republicans are not merely condoning the behavior of the fringe element of their party, but embracing it. A message of intolerance helps the Republican Party. How exactly?
Well, it doesn't help them, and they're not all embracing it. But I'm sorry to say they're afraid to say so on the record. I talked to numerous Republicans today. A lot of them are very upset at, for example, Joe Wilson, the congressman from South Carolina. A lot of them don't think somebody like Glenn Beck is doing the Republican Party any good. The Republicans need not just their core voters to thrive in the 2010 midterm elections, which they indeed may. They need independent voters in the middle, and there's a tug of war going on, David, between the desire of independents to support the Republicans over issues like the debt and the deficit, and the way some of the Republicans are behaving that repels those very independents.
Well, speaking of, Senator DeMint told the crowd on Saturday and repeated today that the protesters were informed. Given what some of those signs had to say about the president, wouldn't that be fomenting hatred, if not violence?
Well, they're at the very least looking the other way. And they're looking at the glass of tolerance half full, when in many cases there isn't even a glass, David. But what the Republicans I talked to today said was this: these people are there because of big government. They're there because of fears about the debt and the deficit. And I think to some extent that's true. I've been to tea parties, I've been to town hall meetings, I can sense that. But there's something deeper and darker that's also there, and we may as well look straight at it. There are racial fears, there are religious fears, there are regional fears, there are ethnic fears. These are coming to the surface. Like depth charges, our politics have now brought all this to the surface, and that's also what we saw out there on the Mall. There's no question about it, and there are not enough Republicans who are willing to say that on the record.
Glenn Beck's stated goal of wanting to move this country back to where it was on 9/12/2001, when the country was united. How did that work out for him?
Well, he can pretend to cry all he wants on the stage and call himself a televangelist. He's not into uniting the country from everything I've seen. He's making a boatload of money dividing the country. When you say with no real evidence whatsoever that the President of the United States hates white people, you aren't behaving in the spirit of 9/12. You're behaving in a spirit that we thought we'd gotten rid of at the end of the Civil War and at the end of the second Civil Rights Movement. So, you know, he can cry the crocodile tears all he wants. That doesn't seem to be what he's actually doing.
Considering that this Saturday's rally did not unite the country in the same way that the country stood together on 9/12/2001, wouldn't this qualify then as an example of politicizing the 9/11 attacks?
Well, I think that's the way it's ended up. They're trying to wrap themselves in the flag that everybody was saluting on the day after 9/11. And, you know, I got to say here, we're talking about Fox to some extent. I know a lot of people there. This is heresy to say on this network. I think Roger Ailes is a good guy who loves the country and who can be a very, very good newsman. Some of the things that he's allowing on his network don't do justice to his reputation, and division it is.
It seemed hard to tell whether this was a rally about recovering the America of 9/12/2001 or America before the repeal of Jim Crow. What are these people really protesting?
Well, they seem to be protesting Barack Obama's election. There was a real shock that went across some parts of the country here when Obama won. Some folks just don't understand it. They don't accept it. Never will, quite possibly. It's in those areas of the country where you hear people who are more likely to believe Barack Obama's a Muslim, that he wasn't really born in Hawaii, and all this sort of claptrap.
Senator DeMint said on Saturday that the protest and the anger was not about President Obama. But based on the signs alone, DeMint's denial doesn't seem to hold up. And secondly, how much do you think bigotry was fueling this?
Well, DeMint knows how to play it both ways. He's talking about Waterloo. You know, this is the man who said, we got to stop Obama on health care and crush him. This is what really grabs me is his statement that freedom-loving people, I believe he said, are outnumbered in the Congress, but not across the country. You know, people across the country went out and voted for the people in that Congress. This is the way our system works, and that to me is just plain demagoguery. I can feel sorry for people out in the crowd who didn't know any better, but Jim DeMint knows better, and so did some of the other people up there on that podium talking like that.
These are some of the same folks who, during the Bush administration, told everyone on the left that they could love it or leave it. Well, they don't seem to be packing up to go now.
Well, no, a lot of them are buying more bullets, though. There have been reports of ammunition shortages right after Barack Obama was elected. I shouldn't be smirking at this, but it's just the kind of thing it's sad, but a lot of people have a lot of misjudgments about him and the rest of the government here in Washington, and we do have a more polarized situation than before.